Rumor has it I can be funny sometimes. We're hoping that stays true tonight. And, you know, I want to be relevant and a little funny. I know I'm relevant because I'm from here and I belong here. Funny, you guys will let me know. All right.
Yeah. So already.
You're all right. Yeah. A lot of the guys know me here already. All right. My name is Dennis. I'm an alcoholic and an addict. Good evening, everybody. I am a graduate of Sheahen. I was here in the year 2003. May to June of 2003, I was here. And I consider this place a place where I was born again. I literally was saved in this place. My life was saved in this place. I was given some education in here that I needed to know. And I've walked out of this place and I've never relapsed. And I come back here today to let you guys know that there is hope. There is a way to go about doing this. And you too can come back someday and stand up in front of a group and say, hey, I left this place, I've stayed sober, and life has never been better. Because it certainly has been that case for me. So how did I get here? My drug of choice at the end of my drug career was crack cocaine. That was something that I got myself into as a last drug. I certainly was a child of the 70s, so you can imagine anything that was around in the 70s, I did it. I often sold it. That was usually my MO. After I did some drugs, I usually started selling it. I was my own best customer, but that's how I did it, okay? So grew up in Glenview, Illinois. High school graduate in 1976, so that was certainly a prime time for doing all kinds of drugs in the world, and I certainly fit right in. High school for me was getting high 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. There wasn't a sober day during high school for me. My whole life I lived to try to find the middle of life. High school was a perfect example because I knew that if you were an A student, you had to go see counselors and you got scholarships and things like that, and I didn't want anything to do with that. And I knew F students had to have extra study halls and counselors and things like that. I didn't want anything to do with that. But I knew a C student could walk through the halls of a high school, stoned to the bone all day, and no one would bother him. I figured that out fairly early in life, and it certainly worked for me. There was probably many a math class that I probably would go up and I'd probably be burping smoke and, you know, kind of going like this in the middle of class, because that's what we did before math class for 4 straight years. But I never had any consequences at all. And just to let you know how good I was at that, there were 602 people in my graduating class and I graduated 301. So perfect, you know. High school went just as planned. And really, to be honest with you, that's how I ran my whole life. Early on in my career as a computer programmer, I didn't want to be one of the guys that was brought into the boss's offices for meetings because they had to make plans and they had to go to other meetings and they had to meet people. I just wanted to be left alone in a cubicle, leave me alone, because getting high at lunch was way more important to me than a career path. So I made huge decisions in my life based on my ability to do drugs. I changed careers based on my ability to find more party time. I went from career in a programming in an office situation to a career in sales, figuring more car time, more getting high time. And that's how I ran my life. One of the keys, probably the key day in my life, the day that really changed my life, was December 20th, 1974. I was 16 years old. I was at a Christmas party. I had never kissed a girl in my life at that point. Baseball was the #1 thing in my life. I was at a Christmas party. A friend came over, put mistletoe over my head. A pretty brown-haired girl with brown eyes came over and kissed me. Yada, 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 2 kids. Okay? So you go from there and figure that out. That was the only girl I dated in all my high school and college career. And it was really terrific. And we were together. My 2 kids are 23 and 20. My son just graduated college a few months ago from Purdue, which is terrific, as an engineer. And he's got a brand new job. He just started in January. We couldn't be more proud of him. And my daughter is 20, and she's going to be a junior this year up in Madison, majoring in environmental engineering. So, you know, the dreams do come true. My kids are not following the path of their father. I am divorced from that woman today, but, you know, in a large part due to this. But, of course, there's more than the story of just that there. But the fact of the matter is I look back on my story of my recovery, that part of my life, which I thought was the worst part of my life, my whole life was being Dennis of Dennis and Rose. You know, I mean, if anybody can relate to that, that was my identity. Nobody knew me without Rose. Everybody knew me of Dennis and Rose. And so I didn't know how to live my life. And when I got sober and realized that that was not going to happen, I honestly thought that there was not going to be much of a life. Because what was I? I was Dennis without Rose. I didn't even know what that meant. I didn't know how to act. I didn't know how to live. I didn't know how to do anything. And what I figured out in this program, and one of the best things I figured out from this program, was my whole first time in sobriety, my first beginning of sobriety, I wanted to go back. I just wanted to get my way back into my old life. I wanted to get back to Rose, back to Mount Prospect, back to the old career, back to this, everything. I wanted to get back to where I was. And it was actually the opposite of what Dennis needed. Dennis needed to move forward and find his own way. And it was that kind of thing that really, really, really changed my life, realizing that that was my past, not my future, and that I had to move on. And it's through that I have found the recovery I found, is by allowing myself to find the new life that I found. So, what happened, what got me here? My sobriety date is April 20th, 2003. That means I have a sobriety date of 420, which is pretty cool for a dope fiend to have. All right? Now, everyone who's under the age of 50, turn to somebody next to you and explain to them what the 420 thing means. 420 is supposed to be the time the Grateful Dead got high every day in San Francisco. There was a clock in San Francisco, and it was called the 420 clock, so it was stuck at 420, and that's where the drug dealers were, was behind the 420. Okay? So that was where it all started from, was from San Francisco and Haight-Ashbury and all that stuff. So that's where that all started from. So 420, National Marijuana Day, that's my anniversary, my sobriety date. I think it's a great date. I'm not going to give it up. So what happened on April 19th that made April 20th possible? I have no idea. No big event happened on April 19th that made me say, hey, I've got to stop doing this. I think it was just a series of a whole bunch of things that built up. And for the first time in 28 years, on April 20th, 2003, I didn't get high. I had no idea it was going to be this ride that I was going to go on starting on that day, though. That was certainly not my plan. I certainly didn't plan on rehab. I didn't plan on AA. I didn't plan on anything. I just, for the first time in 28 years, didn't get high that day. So it's like Kathy says, no matter what your plan is going in, it doesn't matter what your motives are going in, stick around and the right motives will find you. You know, because like I said, I didn't walk in these doors saying, you know, I want to give up drugs for the rest of my life. I said, I need to figure out how to put the crack pipe down. That's what I was trying to do when I came in here, was just figure out a way to get away from crack.